Welcome to this full body mobility routine with lower body focus. This is a routine that you can do before a run, early in the morning, or you could do it as a break from your desk. Stay away from pain and just explore what your body is capable of. As we go through some of these movements, you may find that one side is tighter than the other, and that is completely natural. If you want to spend a few extra minutes in each of these positions, by all means do so. Think of a nice tall posture. Imagine a thread pulling through the top of your head. Relax the shoulders and grounding your feet on the floor. I'm trying to find a natural balance using all four corners of the feet. I'm not too heavy in the heels and I'm not too heavy in the toes. Just finding that natural equilibrium. So as I'm in this position, I'm going to start waking up the toes, thinking about, can I lift the big toe off the ground and leave the other four toes there? And then can I change? Can I think about driving the big toe down and lifting the other toes? Don't worry if you haven't got this straight away. It takes a little while for that mind-muscle connection to kick in. And this is just a way of waking up the body, giving us an idea of proprioception or where we are in time and space. Good, nice. We're going to go for a stretch now through these toes. So taking one side, doesn't matter which side to start with, curling all toes underneath. And from here, I'm going to throw a little bit of a circle clockwise to start with, anti-clockwise, and this is helping the ankle go into plantar flexion. So we're planting it down. Change onto the other side. So again, folding all those toes under, working clockwise to start with. And again, we can modulate how much weight is in each foot. Again, we want a bit of a balance, but it's very easy to shift more weight to the standing leg if we're finding it a little uncomfortable on the bent side. Now, can we separate the big toe from the other four toes? I'm going to bend the four toes underneath whilst having my big toe planted to the ground. I'm driving through that big toe whilst keeping those four toes flexed. Again, I can modulate how much weight is going through this foot. I can put more weight through if I shift to that right-hand side, or if I'm on the left, I can shift weight back. But from here, the first time I ever did this, I remember a specific cramping coming through the top of the foot, and that's because I hadn't spent a lot of time in that flex position. So I'm going to change sides, going to the left foot now. I can definitely feel more tightness on my left-hand side here. If you get any cramping, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that central nervous system going, hang on a second, we've not been in this position before, or we're not particularly comfortable in this position. It's not undue pain, but I'm definitely not used to having those four toes flexed. And this for me is the less good side. So again, driving down using that big toe, and I'm just exploring that position. I'm throwing clockwise direction, I'm throwing anti-clockwise direction, just exploring that movement. Good, now come out of there. So we're going to recenter ourselves back onto the mat. Again, remember, nice tall spine, keeping weight in all four corners of the feet. Now I'm going to explore a gentle inversion and eversion of the ankle. Take this steady if you haven't been into these positions before. Again, there's no such thing as a bad position. It's just a position that we haven't necessarily spent time in. So gradually I'm going to position weight or shift weight onto the outsides of my feet. I'm going to feel the stretch through the outside of the ankle. Again, if you want to do this one side at a time, that's perfectly fine. I can definitely feel more of a stretch on my right foot. If you've twisted ankles in the past or anything like that, again, avoid pain, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to just explore some of these positions. So I could come in and out of that position now. Hopefully you can hear me, it's quite windy. There's a dog barking, always helpful. So I'm just moving in and out of these positions, and gradually over time, you'll find that the more you go in and out of these positions, the more range that you can encounter. And we're just building that strength through range. So this is called inversion. So again, we're turning the soles of our feet in, and now we're going to explore eversion. So this is slightly more difficult for me, but think about collapsing through the ankle, bringing the knees together and trying to show the outsides of the feet externally. So outside, in and out. This one for me is a little more challenging. So what we're going to try and do now is drive our feet down, plantar flexion. So plant the feet, grip with the toes, drive up. So like a calf raise, and then can I do the reverse? Maybe I want to try one side at a time. Can I lift one foot, show the sole to the camera? Sole to the camera. If you're feeling adventurous, you can drive up again, and then you can reverse that, and then think about doing both at the same time. And balance. Again, balance is a very good thing for the body to have. Balance gives us that awareness, fires up our vestibular system. Again, this is just bringing that playful element into this as well. You can see I'm having to really concentrate through these two positions, but it feels good. We can feel like we're awakening our lower body. Nice. Now that we've tried 2 feet, what I'm going to do, I'm going to shift onto 1 foot. So I'm going to plant my left foot into the ground. Again, it doesn't matter which foot you start with, but I'm trying to grip the ground with my toe. I can really use my big toe, clawing at the ground, using those 4 toes as well, just pinching the ground. And as I'm on this foot, thinking about contracting here, so a bit of hip flexion, knee flexion. I can feel this in a hip flexor. I'm going to try and hold this top position and rotate that ankle. For me, a little bit of clicking and popping, old injuries just making themselves known. And then I'm going to go anti-clockwise here. Again, challenging myself through balance, gripping the ground with my toes, and hip flexor activation as well. When we spend a long time at our desk, our hip flexors get short and weak and they get cranky. So this is just a way that we can start to remind our body and our musculoskeletal system what its role is. Good. Popping that down, I can definitely feel a little bit of fatigue in there. That's not a bad thing, especially if you do lots of running. Working on the hip flexors is a good idea. So shifting feet, shifting weight over as well. So using that right foot, again, you will probably have a dominant side, which you feel more confident standing on. So using that big toe, grip the ground, grip with the toes. And then from here, again, I'm knee flexion, hip flexion, pulling that hip up, pulling the knee up. And I'm going to think about throwing some circles in here. I'm going anti-clockwise here, but it doesn't matter which way. And then we're going to change. Noticing a bit of weakness on this side. My hip wants to drop, but try and keep it as elevated as you want. Again, it may not be 45 degrees for you. It may be a little bit closer to this. That doesn't matter. What we're trying to do is just awaken the body, get moving, and get the synovial fluid pumped around the system. Good. Make sure you've done clockwise, anti-clockwise, just exploring these movements. Nice. Put the feet on the ground. Again, back to center. You're doing amazing, guys. Well done. So we're going to descend now into a squat pattern. So what you may find is your squat may not look quite like this. I encourage you to build up your squat over time, because depending on your culture, if you go to Eastern cultures, the squat is a fundamental pattern. You'll see people cooking, you'll see people resting, waiting for a bus. They will be in this position. And this is a fundamental or default human position that we should still have access to. Again, if you've got kids, you'll see them resting into a squat pattern. So as much as possible, I'm sat on the ground. I'm trying to keep my heels on the ground. If you do struggle with this position, what you can do is use something to help elevate the heel. And what that does is help stack the upper body into a more optimal position. Over time, I encourage you to drop down into this squat position. Again, it may not look like this. It may look like this. You can always use a counterweight to help offset if you're finding yourself rocking back. Having a small counterweight can help pull you forwards. But as much as you feel comfortable and confident, try and sit in this position and just explore. You'll notice me bouncing, I'm shifting weight, I'm moving around. And don't worry about your feet pointing straight forwards. They don't have to go bolt straight forward. Mine are sort of pointing out at 90 degrees. So in this position, again, if you have to stand up at any point, that's absolutely fine. But what I'd encourage you to do is try and build up your time in this position more and more. So if you're swiping on your phone, if you're reading a book, building up incremental time throughout the day where you are in this squat position is amazing for your hip health and your lower back. So I'm going to stay in this position. Again, if you need to come out of this position at any time, please feel free to do so. But while I'm in this position, if you want, you can put your hands on the floor. I'm going to start opening up through this hip, just adding a small amount of range, pushing that out. Again, I'm not using brute force, I'm just encouraging that position. As I push this knee out, I notice how my weight shifts onto this standing support leg. Again, explore this side. One side definitely for me feels better than the other. This side feels a little bit cranky, so making a mental note of that. Again, bobbling around. What I'm going to do now is add a little bit of rotation. So if I want to rotate to my right and move my right elbow up, I can use my left hand to create a base of support here. So using my left hand onto my shin and adding some rotation through this right hand side. 3, 4, 5. You'll notice I've done 5 reps there. That's just to make sure I do 5 reps on the other side. Again, you can keep it a little bit more loosey-goosey and just moving for time if that suits you. Definitely a little bit stuck in this rotational pattern here. So again, making a mental note, left hand side a little bit cranky and rotation not quite as nice, not quite as good. Moving from this squat now, I'm going to move side on so you can see. I'm going to drive my toes into the ground. My toes are in a extended position and my arch is exposed. So this is just a nice stretch for the arch. You may find this position uncomfortable, and that's completely fine if it is uncomfortable for you. I can definitely feel one side is happier in this position than the other side. So the arch of the foot acts as a natural shock absorber. And in order for it to do its job, it's good for it to move through a range of positions. Now I'm going to challenge myself, moving my weight forward so my weight is through my knees now. If you want to put your hands down, you can do. I'm going to think about flexing that foot down now. So plantar flexion, dropping those tops of my feet onto the floor, and now I'm going to sit back onto my heels. This may be a challenge for you. You may find that the top of the foot is starting to cramp a little. Again, there is no set time that you have to be in this position. I'm just encouraging you to explore, and I want you to feel better after these movements. So if you want to put a cushion or a pillow under your bum to take some of that pressure away, that's absolutely fine. If you want to put a cushion or a pillow underneath the tops of your feet to allow you to sit more comfortably in that range of motion, that's also completely fine. Over time, as we get used to some of this stimulus, your body will become more adapted and more comfortable in these positions. But these are fundamental human positions. This is a Caesar position. You may have seen this in meditation postures, Japanese Buddhism. This is a position that is quite frequently used to stack the body. You are in a more optimum position. Everything sits quite nicely on top of itself. So now we're going to come in and out of this range. So using that position that we previously did with the toes tucked under on the balls of the feet, we're going to move in and out of these positions. Remember, you can use your hands to modulate the weight as we go forwards. We can put hands forward, tuck feet under, sit back. If you're feeling quite confident, we can move through these positions, maybe 1 foot, 2nd foot, sit back down. Or if we're feeling good, we can move, challenging that balance a little, but moving through these 2 positions. And by adding our weight in these positions, it means that we are creating change. We are in and out of these positions, and our body is becoming stronger and more flexible, more mobile, as we are challenging ourselves through weight, but also postural change. Nice, guys, really good. Again, I'm not really too concerned about reps and sets. I'm just going while it feels good. So now I'm going to challenge myself a little further in this position. I want to get a bit of a quad stretch. So I'm going to have my tops of my feet touching the ground, toes pointing backwards, sitting back onto my heels. And from here, I'm going to think about stretching the quads out more, quads and hip flexor. So I'm going to take my hands, point them backwards, so fingertips pointing away, both sides. And I'm going to think about squeezing my glutes, raising the hips up. Drop back down. At the moment, it's only a very small movement. I'm getting my wrists ready and prepared. My forearms are being stretched, and I'm thinking about raising the hips. Doesn't have to be a huge movement. Dropping that back down. For me, it feels like a very satisfying stretch. Thinking about elevating the hips away from my heels. Drop back down. Elevating hips away. Squeeze those glutes. Stretch through the hip flexor. Drop back down. Moving in and out of these positions, gradually building up my time. Maybe I'm in that top position with my glutes squeezed and I'm moving left, moving right. That feels really nice through the front of my shoulders. I'm thinking about peeling my shoulders away from my ears. I'm not slouched in this position. I'm nice and proud through the posture as much as my body will let me. Moving left, moving right, just oscillating backwards and forwards. Feel that fantastic stretch through the forearms and the wrists. Again, feel free to explore with that wrist position. Maybe you want to go east to west with those wrists. Maybe that feels more comfortable. And if you want to explore even further, fingertips pointing towards your toes. Personally, I prefer fingertips pointing away. I feel like I get a much more expansive and open posture through here. That's for you to explore. Allowing some movement to come through the neck. Enjoy and embrace this time for you to just be in the moment. Nice. Dropping the bum back down to the heels. Gradually walk your hands forward. We're going to challenge that posture a little bit more, and then you can go about your day. Especially if you spend a long time at a desk. Our desk posture tends to be quite internally rotated, quite rounded through here. How do we put ourselves into a better posture? Well, we do the opposite. So, taking your time, take your feet from under your bum, bringing my heels and feet flat to the ground in sort of a 90-degree position. And that position, we had our hands, going to think about fingertips pointing back and behind me, pointing away. And initially, it's just going to be quite a low posture. I'm going to think about driving feet into the ground, hands into the ground, nice and proud through the chest, shoulders externally rotated, driving up. And notice how to start with, I've only got a very small lift off the ground, coming back down. Again, stay away from pain. I want you to explore and enjoy these movements, not muscling your way through them. So shoulders externally rotated, pushing into the ground. Try and keep weight evenly distributed through feet and hands. And now I'm getting a bit more confident. I'm adding a little bit of movement left to right. Good, dropping down. Again, shoulders nice and proud, screwing them back and down. Here into this position. Now I'm into more of a tabletop position. Shoulders proud, peel them away from the ears, and I can feel my hips activating. And again, I'm not trying to super exacerbate that position. I can be somewhere between low and all the way high. So challenging myself, but keeping this nice and playful. Good, coming back down. You might want to give your arms a little bit of a shake in this position, give your legs a shake. So final one of these, so same position again. I'm going to play with moving weight distribution left to right, and we're even going to start to lift one foot, lift another foot, and that's going to challenge across the body to generate force and stability. So when you are ready, driving those feet into the ground, shoulders into the ground, externally rotating shoulders away from the ear. So I can explore this position, feel left, feel right. I'm going to start challenging you. Can I take my right foot off the ground? So shift to that left hand side, lift that right hand off the ground. I'm going to then move my weight, shift my weight to that right hand side, screwing that right shoulder down. Again, thinking about keeping that ear away from the shoulder. Left hand off the ground. And then from here, can I go to my left foot? So think about creating a nice base of support. Lift that left foot off the ground. Ooh-wee. And now I'm going to finally do that right foot. So again, keeping my shoulders back and down, nice and proud, lift that right foot off the ground. Woo. Now, if you want to take a little rest in this position, that's perfectly fine. If you want to continue keeping that bum off the ground, again, finding a good neutral position, not too close to the ground or not too high, somewhere in the middle. I'm going to challenge myself a little bit more. So reducing that base of support, I'm going to see if I can take left foot off the ground and right hand off the ground at the same time. From here, screwing that right shoulder down, left foot into the ground. Can I take left hand and right foot? What we're not trying to do is take same side off the ground. Almost impossible. If you can do it, please let me know. But what I'm going to do is shift that weight through my contralateral sides. I'm shifting that weight, opposite arm, opposite foot, driving into the ground, create balance. Again, a touch isn't necessary, but it shows that we have that capability to move in and out of these positions. Again, challenge yourself a little bit further if you want to add some gentle movement. I can opposite arm, opposite foot, and I can locomote up and down the mat. Again, keeping nice and proud through the shoulders. Trying, walking forwards and backwards, up and down the mat. Woo. Definitely feel that through my shoulders. I can feel the blood moving, but I feel good for moving. And thank you so much for taking the time to move with me today. Maybe you are going to start your day, maybe you're going to head off on a run, or maybe you're using this as a bit of a wind down, bit of mobility pre-bed. Check out the rest of the videos on the channel. YouTube thinks you will enjoy this video next. Enjoy moving, and I look forward to seeing you in future videos. Peace.